Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Reckier Gaffer, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic 936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, Unbelievable Productions and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a few people in Discord and I think 10th Man in G+, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That's funny.
The first time I saw it underneath people's videos, and it's like COVID-19, coronavirus, etc., etc. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that reminds me of the Kobayashi map. Yeah, you're right, just check.
Check.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Checks in the mail.
No.
Who's got the mask avatar? Oh, it's Nathan. Oh, he's got the thing up on screen. Okay.
No, that's not Nathan. That's Ethan Woodley.
That's Ethan.
Yeah, but I was just looking at like the avatar, like where our names are, like 10th Man, Nathan, and you, and I was like, because I was talking, and then I just seen the mask on. And then
I
when
see.
I stopped talking, I went back to Nathan, and I'm like, I was wondering if that was like a new person or something.
You've just twigged that I've put new images up.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, the last ones were long overdue a change. Same. I've been using the same exact reel for, I don't know, a long time, several years. Yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of the backgrounds.
That's a Tuscaloosa. Everything reminds me of a city.
Yeah, got your turtles all the way down.
Yeah, did you know there's a city called Tuscaloosa?
I've heard of Tuscaloosa, yeah.
Yeah, and so those elephants remind me of the previous comment I made with Corona, California.
Right.
Just the way my mind works, can't help it.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work with the Discord covering half of the images though. I'll have to assess it as they go by and decide whether or not I'm going to keep them as is, because at the moment it's kind of like you get rid of the Discord server and you can see the full image, but I'm not going to. Maybe I'll just do that if the image I'm using is pertinent to an argument. In other words, it's necessary to see the full image, and then for the rest of the time just have it, I don't know, Discord server covering half of it, but just cuts off some of the words, which is annoying.
This is great.
Of course, the guys in Discord haven't got a clue what we're talking about till this goes out on the pre-show.
Can you go back to the last image of the oil rigs? So
I mean,
funny, I just does.
You mean the donkey dick geometry picture?
Yeah, I want the double D picture. Speaking of double D, where's David Dallas lately? Not that I miss him.
This image.
Okay, so yeah, this image. So you know how you point out how they use Muppet vision?
Uh-huh.
So now you got this similar Muppet vision type of thing here. And they're going to complain about it. It's coming up. They're going to say, I'm not like a baller here. They're going to say, well, that's not the way we see it. I mean, that curve starts too soon. I mean, there's no way this picture resembles the argument of the black swan, because we're really, you see where I'm going with this? They're going to argue that the curve of the Earth is too soon because it just defies explanation. Their model, but they've been using it, and here you use it to prove that geometric horizon isn't where it's supposed to be, and they're going to complain. You watch.
I mean, this is one of theirs. This is made by AB Science, and it's
No, I know. I'm just saying it's coming. You know, they always contradict themselves and doublespeak. You watch, someone's going to say, and that picture doesn't resemble the actual viewing, and then you can say, well, it's one of yours.
I mean, this shows quite clearly they're labelled two horizons. We've only got one.
Yeah, it's
so
beautiful.
It is. It's a great image.
And you got to put the oil rigs in front of the second horizon. So you're doing it the way they explain it. So how they have no room to argue here.
Yeah. And we only have one horizon. The horizon in their model is geometric. It's a funny coincidence. So yesterday I said, it'd be great to go through the top 3 in advance of the Ballbusters, nicely polished top 3, which is on Saturday. So be here or be sphere.
Hey, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, that was a special surprise. You only got through 2 and you did good. And then we had a guest.
Well, I was going to say, because I said, it's a shame we didn't get to cover the Black Swan. Obviously, it's been covered a lot, but I wanted to keep it all on one show. But then, tomorrow's another day. Great, we'll cover the Black Swan tomorrow. And then in the meantime, Planawalk got a bit salty. So he wrapped up his declaration of Jedi handwave in 18 minutes of ad hominem attack on me. But that's okay. I only needed the one little clip where he says, nobody's claiming we see geometry. Oh, really? Roll on. Mick West, Walter Bislin, National Geographic. There you go. Yeah, there's plenty of people. Al Baruni. Yeah, they're all claiming physical geometry, mate. You used to claim that it was blocking things in the distance with its physicality. And then you get to the last clip is National Geographic themselves defining what their geometric horizon is. The visible demarcation between the Earth and the sky. Visible, right? Yeah, we don't see the geometric horizon. Is a last chance saloon rebuttal.
Well, doesn't that destroy their sunset argument then?
Destroys everything. You've got to have a geometric horizon. R value gives you physicality, and they're claiming that the globe model mathematics in Earth curve mathematics, that's the proof of physicality. That's the proof we're standing on a physical globe with physical geometry. And they say it's physically proven with this physical obstruction that we see, formerly known as Earth curve, also known as the geometric horizon. So to say we don't see geometry, it's like, well, okay, every time you've told us that something's physically being obscured by a physical geometric horizon, what we're going to do? Wave and say we don't see the geometric horizon? Because that's our argument. We say we don't need geometry when we're making optical assessments. Their rebuttal currently is, well, it's optical, obviously. It's like, yeah. Not geometric, though, because that's your claim. That's your claim to prove we're standing on a physical sphere geometry. So declarations that we don't have that is a declaration of a loss. Black Swan.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they spent years arguing the flat earthers' point of perspective and vanishing point and all these things that relate to what's the words I'm looking for? What's that word that as far as you can see and you can't see? Diffraction, right? Not diffraction. Is that it?
It's perspective. I mean, the diffraction limit is the point that you'll have an angle too small to resolve anything. That's diffraction.
That's it.
But that's included in perspective.
Right. So all the fine subjects under perspective, everything that has to do with perspectives is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And so they argue that for years. And then when the black swan shows up, they say, yeah, it's all those things now.
Exactly. They use everything that we had as a defense against their geometry. And back in the day, it was, no, we're not talking about optics and perspective. We're talking about geometry, duh. Now it's, we don't see a geometric horizon. Yeah, we know we don't. There's definitely one in your model, and that's nonsense. We're not seeing the physicality claimed by the physical geometric model, because we don't see physical geometry according to you in rebuttal. In other words, bye-bye globe geometry, it's end of the road.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to hustle a few people off mute. Righteous. No? Everyone's already... Oh no, just Rebel.
Yeah, it's going to take getting used to this new slideshow.
Mic check.
Those are new slides, yeah.
I remember the first time you changed your intro, and that took a while to get used to also.
I'm sure no one's going to object to there being a new slides video going by. It's just place fillers, right? It's just keeping something visually mildly interesting while we chat.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything negative, or am I? Maybe I was. I'm sorry if I was.
No, it's kind of, it's like, I know what you're saying. People get, what is it, familiarity breeds contempt. Maybe people get annoyed if I take away something that's familiar. No, I like seeing that clock. No, I like seeing the sunsets. Oh well. Not anymore.
Go to a past show. They're all recorded.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those clips were from Tracking the Sun on a Flat Earth Live. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 years ago now. It's very old footage.
Mic check.
Hey, Rebel.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, listen. The other day, I heard you guys, but I couldn't get my device working to come and join you. I think you were discussing an idea that you will see a bulge on the horizon, looking at it from left to right.
It's part of the mathematics. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Can I offer an alternative alternative view on that point?
Sure, go ahead.
You don't mind? Yeah, I just can't seem to figure out how you guys come to that conclusion, or to that view. If you let's suppose we standing on the surface of the sphere, and we're looking out to the horizon in any direction. How do you suppose we will observe the bulge? Meaning that if we are to observe any degree of a bulge, all that we have to do is turn to one side or the other and continue the bulge. And you quickly realize, hopefully as I do, that it's impossible, because if you continue the bulge, it will basically go underneath you or some angle. The idea is no matter how many degrees you turn, all the way to 360, the horizon will stay where it is, even on the sphere. That's my view on it.
However,
what do you guys think?
Sure. Number one, this isn't our claim, it's theirs. But in their model, they can and do calculate for how much you should have the horizon bowing down at each side, given enough distance. Now, it's a very small calculation in terms of the amount that they say it should be doing it. And by coincidence, we ended up with an expanse wide enough to mathematically calculate that when we were doing the Isle of Man. Now, as I say, this isn't my claim, but yeah, it makes no sense that you should be able to turn your head and see the bulge, but at a certain distance, you should, if you're on a sphere, according to their Muppet Vision maths. And that's their presumption of a sphere edge horizon, a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, and how much, when you calculate that out, it would bow down. Well, just because they say it should and they have a calculation for doing it, doesn't alter that ultimately they're taking that from lenses that do have a certain amount of barrel distortion, regardless of what the lens is. And they've utilised that in an advanced tab on a calculator to say, yeah, that's actually the Earth curve that you're seeing there. I mean, it's obviously nonsense. They've hijacked perspective and optics.
It is nonsense.
It is nonsense, yeah. You turn your head, and you're just going to see the centre point of your vision return to the centre point of wherever you look at after you turned your head. That seems obvious, right? Well, yeah, while it might seem obvious, they've turned the world side on and removed perspective from it, and then given you geometry, and their geometry says you should see that amount of curve given enough distance, given a wide enough extent.
Exactly. And this is sort of argument that I always get from people who claim they see curvature from the window of the airplane.
Right.
All I'm asking them, okay, so what happens if you look on the other side of the plane? They tell me, well, you're going to see the curvature. I'm going to say, if you look at the front of the plane, what are you going to see? And they're going to see the curvature. I'm like, oh, are you saying you're living on a dandelion? What's going on, man?
One of the first arguments I had with a family member. So it was I can't remember if it was my cousin or my aunt, one or the other. But having done a lot of international travel and spent a lot of time looking out of plane windows, contemplating exactly what you've just described, normally going, wow, it's so flat. Anyway, having done that and come to Flat Earth, I had the discussion with, I think it was my aunt, who'd also done a fair bit of travel. And she said, no, I've looked out a plane window, you can see the curve of the Earth. And it's like, no, with that logic, if you're seeing it bend down out your window with, I don't know, 90, maybe 100 degree viewing angle, tops, tiny little window, well, if you continue that curve around you and then turn around to look out the other side of the window, it would be dipping right down behind you on the other side. Well, of course it isn't. It's at eye level on both sides of the plane. It doesn't continue to dip down. Now, the fact is, in their own rhetoric, they assert that in that regard, it's not high enough to see the horizon bending. Now, as we point out, the contradiction is there for you in the maths. They calculate it. But that's still their fundamentalist religious declaration from priests like Neil deGrasse Tyson. According to him, you can't even see curve from 120,000 feet. So their general religious rhetoric, which is permeated throughout public mainstream media channels, is definitely that you cannot see Earth curve, even if you assume you're on a ball, from cruising altitude. So it's a nonsense assertion. But you should. The reality is you absolutely should see it. You should see it getting more and more predominant as you raise in altitude, and you can see this in Google Earth. Just roll your scroll wheel on your mouse, go up in altitude, and see it curving. Because that's what it should do. But it doesn't. We're not on a sphere. We don't have a physical geometric horizon, I might add. Sorry to just add one more point, Rebel. The whole premise of this discussion is the premise that we have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. In other words, that point that you're describing from altitude curving is a demarcation between land and sky that represents a geometric edge to the sphere beyond which you can't see because things have dropped away. So that physical reification of the horizon is well and truly in place when this gets discussed. And it's borne out by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson when he holds a beach ball and says, you can't see the curve of the Earth from 120,000 feet or above this beach ball, slapping the beach ball. And what he means to say is, if you're holding a physical sphere, that physical sphere has limitations based on its geometric size to where you will see past, and where you see past will be the geometric horizon on the beach ball he's holding. And he's making the assertion that the physical reified edge of that beach ball is the horizon when you're in a plane, or Felix Baumgartner going up to 120,000+ feet. So it's the reification that we're now focusing on, and we're going to do it on today's show with the Black Swan, because we didn't get it to yesterday, and fortunately Plan a Walk, reigniting the fire of the Black Swan, because he's a bit salty, is my perfect opportunity to do so. But I just wanted to make it clear at the end of your absolutely perfectly made point and correct identification of the doublespeak, is that you must reify the horizon that you're describing into a physical sphere edge to have this argument in the first place. And that's really all that Neil deGrasse Tyson's trying to achieve when he physically holds a beach ball, slaps it and says you can't see the edge from 2 millimeters above this beach ball. Analogous in his example to being 120,000 feet above a sphere Earth with a physical edge for a horizon.
Great.
So, remember the one where you have two people on this so-called globe of theirs, one on one side, one on the other, and they both look to each other? Shouldn't there be a bulge in between them if the Earth is a globe?
Yeah, they just do the maths one at a time. And, when you do it simultaneously and end up with a dip between them, because it's falling away on both sides, it makes sod all sense.
Excellent.
Yeah, same goes for people even on our side who make this argument a little bit silly when they put like 2x4, whatever, straight stick or piece of material across the horizon, saying, "Oh, look at this! This is flat." It would be flat either way. So this is a silly argument.
Yeah, spot on. You're also in that example reifying the horizon into a physical edge and saying, look, this physical edge is actually flat. Tiger Dan did it. It's like, hold on. To make this argument, you're declaring that their physical sphere edge is physically flat. Well, it's not an edge to anything. It's a vanishing point.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Paul Hall, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today we're going to focus a little bit on the Black Swan in lieu of Ballbusters, which is going to go out on Saturday, 1 PM Central, 2 PM Eastern, 7 PM UK time, Saturday, so 2 days from now. And that show is going to be covering the top 3 globe killers. And at number 1 is the Black Swan. So it replaced gas pressure without a container, which was discussed yesterday, along with Coriolis effect for the majority of the show. But today we're going to cover that. It's our first housekeeping question. I will go through the housekeeping questions as well. So any evidence of a physical Earth curve edge?
Not from Spanish Fork.
Don't
No.
all go at once.
On the model, yes.
In the model, right on. Yes, exactly. Any evidence of axial rotation?
Nope, not on Earth.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there, but we don't
I
know
don't
the
know.
distance.
I don't know what the sun
What's
is
the
first
size of the sun?
Size
and
of the
how
sun?
it works.
I don't know. The actual size.
Yeah, give me the size of the sun, and we may derive the distance, but we don't know the size.
Apparent
It's
sizes
not
only, unfortunately. Occasionally people will strawman us with the question of why does the not actual size of the sun not change its not actual size as it moves from its not actual position? Also known as why doesn't the angular size of the sun change throughout the day? Well, the angular size, also known as not actual size, is kind of irrelevant. The not actual size doesn't change in not actual size? Well, that's fascinating. Maybe if you hold up 2 different models, one of which you hold in false dichotomy with a strawman stereotyping fallacy, maybe you can burn that model based on what that sun does in that model. That's not something we do here. Regardless of any clips that people might find of me maybe 3 or 4 years ago talking about a flat earth model when I first came to this subject. Surprisingly, I didn't know about reification fallacy back then. Now, given that I've been on YouTube for 11 years, if you go back far enough, you might even find me talking about the globe. Shocker. I found out that wasn't correct. And I found out we don't live on a model, and that's pseudoscience. But there we go. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
None whatsoever. Made up.
Well, I think
I just
something
seen that
has
picture.
has to happen for us to
Go on, Rebel.
stay on the surface of whatever this is. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's gravity is described the way it actually is. Gravity, as if mass attracts mass, doesn't exist. That I'm certain of. But whether it's a force or an effect of some phenomena that lets us be stuck to the surface, I think something's got to happen. I can't formulate that. It's not mass attracts mass. It's something akin to law of thermodynamics or something like this, just the law of nature. denser matter tends to go down. That's it, or to the surface.
So relative.
Anybody
Are you guys
remember
on the topic
wrestling?
of gravity?
Hold on, 10th man. Go ahead, Moose Tone.
Are you guys already on the topic of gravity or not?
We are, yeah. Any scientific evidence of
Okay.
gravity?
Well,
Let's just get rid of this troll. Oh, somebody's already done it for me. Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Say again,
can
Moose
you hear
Tone.
me?
Yeah, we hear you. Say again.
Okay, so no, sorry, I don't have any scientific evidence of gravity. In the if I'm not mistaken, in the curvature of space-time. So, how come mass? Objects with more mass are curving space-time towards each other, and how come it's not objects with less mass that are curving away from each other in the as a helium balloon? Something with less mass is actually expanding space-time instead
Good question.
of
Hold on.
bending
Who was
it
that?
towards each
Curving
other.
what? Space time?
Curving.
Yeah.
That would be conceptual. You can't curve concepts.
Okay, fair enough. And second question, supposedly there's this buoyant force in their model, right? It's actually a force, isn't it?
You tell me.
So how come you have a buoyant, if I understand correctly, the buoyant force, this is a sort of a counter force to gravity. That doesn't really make sense, because if you don't have gravity as a force in the first place, how come there's a buoyant force that is counteracting it and making helium balloons rise up? Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Can I make a quick statement?
good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Morning.
Morning, Chocolate. The only reason they have mass attracting mass is because they're trying to account for what's going on in the stars. So, but on Earth, relative density can't account for things. So they only invoke Einstein or mass attracting mass when it comes to the celestial objects. So keep that in mind.
Can
Right.
you expand on that?
You
Sure.
expand-
Well, they got. Go ahead.
Well,
I
the
thought it was
Earth part. So if their mass, which they threw away because it's over 100 years old, now they're on the bending of space-time. What is their rhetoric for Earth then?
Well, that's what causes things to fall down, go boom, boom, is the bending of space-time. But the thing is that can be accounted for with relative density here on Earth. Why things go down towards the ground, or why things rise up towards the sky. But when they look at the celestial objects, they got to say, well, how does what's going on up there match what we see here? So they have to create this elaborate thing to account for why the moon goes around the Earth, or why the sun goes around, or the Earth goes around the sun. So they have to come up with some other mechanism to account for that. I think that's why that mass attracting mass, bending of space time is in their rhetoric, because they're trying to look at the stars, saying what's going on up there. Can we look down here to see what's going on up there? It's kind of reversing. You look up there to see what's going on down here. That's kind of what they're trying to do. It's kind of a mishmash.
I know what you mean. It's like giving reasons. It's like, oh, we're going around the sun because of the same force that makes your pen fall to the ground, right? So that it's like that narrative, so that they can tell you this. We know what's going on up there. You guys don't, so you have to accept this story.
Morning, Arwen.
Sorry, I'm
Even
late.
then, taking their story, you still 120 power of what do they say? What is it?
10 to the
biggest
10 to the
error in cosmology
128th power.
There you go. It's Michio Kaku. Hold on,
120th
Rebel.
power.
Go on, Chocolate. Let's just hear it.
Oh, the quote by what's his face, Michio Kaku,
If you know it.
who said that in science, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power. That's a 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the greatest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. Yeah. Michio Kaku.
Thanks.
That's right. Thank you, Chocolate.
Has
So when
anyone
we-
made
when we say-
a
when we say we-
comprehensive theory of relative density?
Just one
Is there
second,
anything that is
Moose-tone.
published
Hold
and
on.
that is
Hold on, Moose
that
Tone.
is-
Hold on. Hold on. Go ahead, Rebel.
Yeah, so the reason I'm bringing this up, what Chocolate had outlined, the quote from Michio Kaku is when we say, well, we make gravity so because we're trying to explain what occurs in the stars, and therefore our equations work as far as the stars are concerned, and we extrapolate it down to the Earth. The point being is it doesn't work even in the stars because they off by a 10 to the factor of 120. That was my point. Like you can't even make that claim to say the idea of gravity is to make shit work in stars. But it doesn't, even if you apply that. So was my point.
Right, that's why they use dark matter and dark energy to try to explain what's going on in the stars, because their equations don't line up. It doesn't work.
But still,
So
even if they do that,
energy, dark
it still doesn't work. Even if they do that, it doesn't work. 120, 10 to the 120 power off. That's including dark matter, dark energy. I don't think you realize that. That's including all the bullshit they made up after they made up gravity. They're still off by 10 to the 120 power. That's how bad the shit is.
It's how bad it is to reify their sky model. I mean, in reality, the sky is just whatever is. The fact that their maths is off by a bazillion is just kind of neither here nor there. It just means they're wrong. We don't live on a model. We don't live on their star model. We're not in a vacuum. The distance to these lights in the sky isn't astronomical, and based on an R value, Venus isn't the same size as a presupposed spherical Earth. The whole thing's a load of nonsense. Gravity is the least of their issues, hence it's not on the top three. You just got to quote someone like George Musa. Gravity's not a force. Or someone like Brian Cox. Gravity's not really a force at all. Those sorts of things just lay it all out. They haven't got a force to do anything. It's just bending of a concept, and you can't bend concepts. Any more? I think Moose Tone, you had something to add. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to know whether on our side we have a theory of relative density that's published, or that's that could be that can make predictions and things like that. Do we have that at hand?
Yeah, it's just density. You don't even need the relative bit.
Okay.
Nathan, I'm going to disagree with you about a concept. I can bend the concept if I bend it in my mind. So you're wrong. As long as I bend it in my mind or on paper, I can bend it. So I want to make sure you're clear about that.
Right.
Well, you just have to come to the truth and realize there is no spoon. There is no spoon. Yes. That way, you will see that it's not the spoon that bends, but yourself.
There's always a pseudo-Ramonian force spoon.
Oh my god.
We can do that thing like I used to do in school. When you wobble the pencil up and down really fast, it looks like it's bendy. You can do that with the spoon. You seen that?
Yeah, profound. You can bend it if you twiddle it. Because
Yeah. Makes it seem
You
like it's
guys-
bent. And
any more
wobbly.
for any more on gravity? If not, we'll move on.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Mic check.
Yeah, we still hear you, Rebel.
Yeah.
Okay,
you.
I had a network issue, so I'm glad I'm back.
Okay, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, never was.
In science, we always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork. Michio
That
Kaku is always
Michio-
good for a great quote. Gotta love him.
That Michio Kaku quote that you referenced, he said that quite a while ago.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's pretty much saying
what
that
does that
most
change?
science is pseudoscience based, pretty much.
Yeah, if you hear what he's saying, yeah, pretty much. Balls will tell
Why do
you
we have to
differently,
take
though.
his
They'll
word
say,
for it?
"Oh, what he
He's
really
pretty much
had
one of-
meant."
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I'm
pretty
sorry.
much only one of the like celebrity scientists that I kind of don't mind. You know, the rest of them are just like Tyson, just like shills.
Well, I mean, he's at least got enough fortitude to say, "Look, people in my field, they're not actually out there really doing science. They're sitting around thinking
Yeah.
about stuff." You know?
Yeah, he's got the balls to actually say, well, most of the science that people are coming up with isn't following the scientific method. So in essence, isn't really science. Well, I mean, it's science, but it's not following the scientific method, which it should.
Exactly, because he's clearly distinguishing between science and using the scientific method.
I actually like Michio Kaku. He's half decent.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
What about volcanoes?
Yeah, they've got nothing to do with the molten iron core, even in their own rhetoric. That's just a misunderstanding by fundamentalists.
Maybe we should retire this question because nobody even tries to fight for the core.
No
Like,
way.
you
Doesn't
could
the lava
actually-
come up from the core, like the molten iron core?
No.
Oh,
I think we
oops.
should retire it.
Why? It's one of the best questions. Hold on. We're all educated about this in school. Really early on, too. So that's like one of the best questions ever. Because have some empathy for your average Joe that might be watching this. A guy that's come along, he hasn't got a clue what's going on at flat Earth, globe Earth. He's just like, yeah, of course we live on a sphere. What are these idiots talking about? Obviously, he'll think that he's been programmed to. She or he. So they come along and they watch the show, and we're talking about Black Swan and no geometric horizon. We've only got one horizon, and the guy's like, I don't understand any of this. This is all way above my pay grade. He's not going to think that in those words, but you know what I'm saying. Then we get to any evidence of a molten iron core. And what's going to flash before that guy's eyes, or that girl's eyes? Yeah, the one in my textbook. And then when there's a stony silence because no one's got any evidence of it whatsoever, and once in a blue moon someone will come in and start talking about P waves bouncing off stuff, and we'll point out how wrong they are when they actually come to dig down, or the fact that they've only dug 8 miles. You know, that's as good as it gets for that evidence. And then you can maybe once in a blue moon talk about Thea. But But the point is that should spark a bit of interest in somebody that hasn't necessarily got an idea about what the subject is, but they can definitely remember seeing the shiny molten iron core in their textbook at school. That'll be embedded in their, ingrained in their mind.
And most people don't realize that the furthest we've drilled, like you said, is 8 miles. I've only always known it as 12 kilometers, but I think it was the Russians that did it, and they can't go any deeper than that. So yeah, it's good having the questions, because someone might only catch one show, and this could be the show that wakes them up. So having the questions makes perfect sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, the hole to hell.
I get you. I just feel bad for it because nobody ever argues for the core. I mean, when was the last time somebody came in to argue with us for the core?
Okay, let's go through all of them.
Remember.
Hold on. When was the last time somebody...
how can they prove it anyway? It's if we were on a globe, you couldn't even prove it anyway. We couldn't have anything to get down that deep and prove it anyway. Am I wrong? I mean,
have you not seen the movie Core? They got down there. They actually detonated nuclear weapons.
Journey to the center of the earth or something. Yeah.
No.
Hello?
Hold on.
It's great work of fiction.
Yes, we hear you, Arwin. Hold on.
Jesus.
Yeah,
We hear you.
Yeah, I've
just
been
ask your
trying
question
to say
again.
something and then...
we only just heard
Arwin,
Oh,
can everyone shut up for a
we haven't heard
second? Hello, audio chaos. Can you repeat your question again, Mind Warped? It was a very good question. It got a joke as a response. Can you ask it again?
What did I say?
Can you actually achieve it?
said,
You asked, could you actually achieve that? Could you actually get down?
I said, if we were on a globe, how could they prove the molten core anyway? I mean, you couldn't get down there. You couldn't get data set sensors to go down that low. I mean, I know when they do like geological mapping of underground surveys where they get all this equipment, they can only go down like max like a K. I only know that because I own shares in a company that's doing some like surveying work in South America, and they had this equipment that's like measures everything under the ground, and they can only go down so far. And then also we can only drill down so far. Even if we wanted to go down further, the drill tips, they just burn out. You can't get down. So how could you prove that even if we were on a globe that there's a molten iron core?
You couldn't. It's just a story they made up. It's just a complete no-nonsense they make up and teach to kids. But I think it's an epic question. Whoever it was that was like, maybe we should drop it. Was it you, Chocolate? I'm not, biting at your heels. I'm just saying, no, I realise why. Because no one comes in to argue it. It's like, when was the last time someone came in to argue about evidence of the R value? Was it Tim Osman with his GPS readings, all at the same height? Merely with a presupposition that they're not, because they've got GPS readings from presupposed orbiting satellites? That was the last time someone came in to defend the R value. So, it's a bit thin on the ground with all the rebuttals at the moment, wouldn't you agree? The fact that that one's like, it's got to be a year before somebody last came in to claim that? Probably more.
My theory that GPS systems are ground-based, running off like cell towers, is starting to really set really hard in concrete for me, because since everyone's working from home and the bandwidth is going down, everyone's using their phones and everything. Our mobile phone data is just slow and ridiculously crap, and our home internet is slowed right down. And what I've been finding is when I'm driving around in my truck and trying to use my phone's map system that uses the GPS, it's not working. So I mean, how is that possible? Like, if it's in satellites, it should be unaffected. But if it's running off the networks, which are like really congested with heaps of bandwidth being used, that would affect the GPS system if it's running off the towers. So that just, to me, confirms it even more, the suspicions that I've been having. It literally doesn't work. I had to get out my road book map. I haven't used that in like years.
But there's a much
I had it in the
quicker-
back of my truck.
I mean,
luckily I could get
There's a
there.
much more swift way of debunking the claim of global positioning system satellites. So those satellites are claimed to be in a region that doesn't exist. They're claimed to be in somewhere that violates the second law of thermodynamics. So the presupposition that they are falling around a sphere in a sky vacuum is a begging the question fallacy, the automatic assumption that things can orbit fall around a spherical surface, and also a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. You can't have satellites in a sky vacuum. So you just debunk it by saying, where are those satellites? That's the question you actually have to ask. When someone says, oh, we've got GPS satellites, where are they exactly? In space? Right. No, they're not. Everything that's claimed to be from space is automatically deemed bunk. You can't have gas pressure without a container. And the sky, a vacuum, is apparently the point where we've got no air, no pressure. Well, we've got pressure here. We're a pressurized system, so it must be contained to be pressurized. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any gas pressure. The gas we breathe would fill the space. So just debunk space, and all claims from space are automatically bunk, including GPS satellites.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was just bringing it up so kind of like the people that are new to all this, like if they don't quite understand that, like if they just simply look at their phone at the moment with everyone, you know, being at home, and if they're having problems with their GPS systems, you know, they shouldn't be having any problems because they're theoretically in space, in, you know, out there in places they can't be, but it's not. It's ground based. It's 100% ground based. So that I'm just bringing that up, so people that are kind of sitting on the fence or new to the subject, just have a look at that. Try using your phone to use maps for, you know, at the moment, and you'll find it quite difficult. It's not working properly.
Hey everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey Nathan. How are things?
Good. Still in housekeeping. Nearly there. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
I don't have any anyway, that's for sure. Sorry. Maybe chocolate?
Anybody? R value? Earth radius?
At best, what you've done here is disprove the radius.
That's right.
I've got to bring it back because I haven't heard it for a while. But there is no R value.
I miss when we used to get the body of science as the response to where did we get the R value from. It was the body of science, Nathan.
Okay, but
It's been a while since we heard that crap. Huh?
Go ahead, Darwin.
Is my volume out again? Hello?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure sometimes. It's weird.
No, you literally just came in then. Before that, we couldn't hear you.
What? What the hell's going on?
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I can hear you now.
I wanted to say, like, what is R really originally derived or imagined from, right? It is the equator line, right? The length of the equator line, and then assume that it's a circle around the globe, right? That's what it's derived from.
No, wrong. The timeline would be to start with Aristarchus making an assumption that we're on a sphere, but they get the R value from Al-Biruni.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
But Nathan, are you running all the gifts that people made of you, or did you make these gifts?
I didn't make any of them. I didn't make any of these.
These are just ones that people have made, and you're just putting them up for a laugh.
Yeah, basically. So shout out to Hyena. And
I've not seen them before. Some of them are quite funny.
Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Well, not in the real world.
No evidence.
I'll go get my crickets.
But in pseudo-Ramonian force space, I could think of a way.
Pseudo? What does pseudo mean, Arwin?
Not real.
Fake, sham. No evidence that space is real. No evidence of the sky vacuum. No demonstrations that that's in any way possible, or that you can violate the second law of thermodynamics, or Boyle's law, or gas law. No? Anybody at all? Yep. Sky is not a vacuum.
Well, unless the V in the PV equals nRT means an open sky, then no.
Well, you tell me, what is the V in PV equals nRT?
It's volume.
Volume of what?
A container.
Oh, wow. So necessary antecedent then.
Yes.
Do you know what the answer is, Nathan?
What, is there any
It's this,
evidence
hang
that
on.
you can have gas pressure without a container? What's the answer? No, it would be a violation of a natural law. That's the answer.
That's this, hang on.
Go on, whoever that was. I've got the crickets.
It's cricket.
I love it. Any evidence? Crickets.
Sorry.
Right, no, you're right. My answer is
Sorry,
to
I had
declare
to do
why
it.
there wouldn't be any answer, and your answer is just the crickets of the lack of answer.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right, so yesterday we got
Right.
to the two of the top three. So yesterday we covered Coriolis effect and gas pressure without a container. So today we're going to cover the black swan, and the reason is because we're warming up for the Bullbusters, which is on Saturday. So let me get this right: 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK. Bullbusters, be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, live on Saturday. And as I say, we're going to be covering the top three, destroying the globe with these three arguments. And we've covered two yesterday, so we're going to cover one today, which is the black swan. Now, I do pretty much daily searches for rebuttals on the black swan. Now, they've kind of died off with Corona, which isn't surprising. Unfortunate, obviously disappointing, but nevertheless, I still do the searches. And yesterday, happy joy, plan a walk. A little bit salty about me responding to his video where he just said that he didn't really need to debunk the black swan because it was so dead already, but I'll do it anyway. Declared that it was a refracted horizon, destroying his own model. And obviously I picked up on that, did a response video, and then several weeks later he's responded with a bit of salt, 18 minutes of ad hominem, and his further declaration that we do not see the geometric horizon. In fact, according to him, no one's ever claiming we see geometry. So I just brought up a few Earth curve calculators for him and showed him what Walter Bislin's claiming. That would be a physical, visible, geometric sphere edge for a horizon. And he even shows how much we can qualify the obstruction based on how much of that physical horizon we see in his calculator. Yeah, we've been doing this for quite a while, Plan a Walk. I also showed Mick West's calculator. X marks the spot marked with the horizon given to him by the standard model R value, debunked by the black swan. Definitely claiming physicality. That's the whole point of the model, to claim we're standing on a physical sphere with physical sphere geometry. But according to Plan a Walk, he needs to let Mick West know that we do not see a geometric horizon. Yeah, you've been claiming that as the proof of Earth's sphericity for quite some time, and it's been debunked by the black swan, and it's because we only have one horizon. It's the demarcation point between Earth and sky. Apparent because it's not an actual location. The sky doesn't actually meet the ground, but it's definitely a visible location. It's the visible point that the sky meets the ground. All horizons are apparent, and we only have one. The one horizon in their model, marked with an X labelled horizon, is geometric. It's also defined by National Geographic, a subject matter expert, who make it quite plain. The visible boundary between Earth and sky. The geometrical horizon. Now, it's definitely claimed to be visible, claimed to be obscuring things, and marked with an X labelled horizon in their model based on R, and has definitely been debunked by the black swan. The black swan argument is as follows. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon must be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Distance to horizon is considerably further than 10 miles in the black swan. Should be a distance of about 1.2 miles. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. The geometry they used to claim was blocking things in the distance and having boats go over it, called Earth curve by them, actually the geometric horizon, is, according to them, no longer geometric. It's refracted. No straight lines, no tangents, no geometry, no globe model. It's been debunked by the black swan. I thank you. Any comments? And hello, Adam.
Afternoon. Yeah, disappointing that last one, isn't it? All that work the ballers put in, all the ways we were trying to visualize their ball, and all the time they were telling us that bloody horizon was a geometric edge of a ball. And now they've changed tactic. It's a little bit off, a little bit poor form, really.
Yeah, all that time, right? You would think they've defended the geometry and the physicality of that horizon for all of this time. You would think they would never say something like, we don't see the geometric horizon, or the horizon is apparent. Really?
Why
Well,
not?
then, what do we say to them after that?
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Geodetic surveying always starts out with the assumption that we're on a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles or whatever. And the godfather of geodetic surveying is Al-Biruni. But Al-Biruni took an astrolabe, which is basically the same thing as a sextant, and went to a high mountain in Nandana in India, Pakistan, and he got an angle dip to an horizon. Now, he didn't take away from his calculation his elevation above the sea level, being up on a mountain, and he just used any random horizon, because if he had waited around 20 minutes or an hour, the horizon would have been in a different position, because weather is constantly changing. So he would have got a completely different radius value. So it's obvious that the godfather of geodetic surveying, Al-Biruni, was an incompetent person.
Yeah, he should have spoken to Planner Walk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Listen. The horizon is what you see is the light reflecting off the geometric horizon, and refraction still.
Go on. Or was that it? Was that it?
Hello?
Just get a good story started.
That's.
Is that it?
Leave us hanging, why don't you? Bloody hell.
Okay, just got a couple of questions, Fred. So you're saying the horizon we see, the visible horizon, the apparent horizon, if you will, is refracted off the geometric horizon, a second horizon, one we don't see, the geometric horizon. So the geometric horizon and the second horizon that's an apparent horizon that we see. Is that correct?
What I said was the horizon we see with our eyes or camera or whatever is light reflecting off the geometric horizon, and refraction still happens.
Okay, refraction. Yeah, light deviating from straight. Yes. So you're saying that the horizon we see is light that's deviated from straight and isn't the geometric horizon. It's just light that's based on that geometric horizon, giving you a second position, which is a non-geometric refracted horizon. So two horizons, one geometric and one refracted. So far, am I correct in summary of your position? Two horizons.
There's what we see, and that's the light being reflected of something that exists, and it goes through refraction. So
yeah, number one, yeah, the one we see, one horizon that we see, that would be a refracted one, yeah, and that's based on what? The second geometric one, right?
That's not what I said.
Well, where's this geometric horizon then? If the one we're seeing's got refracted light from it, it's not geometric. We're not drawing tangents to it. It's definitely not a geometric horizon, mate. So we don't have a geometric horizon. Yeah, I'm just responding and rebutting what you've said so far, because you're just repeating yourself. So yeah, this position that's refracted,
No, but
you
you're
said,
twisting.
yeah, that means shut up. You've repeated yourself twice. I heard your claim. A position that is refracted, light travelling to our eyes or camera. I heard. Well, if that position is refracted, the light's deviated from straight, it's definitely not a geometric position then. And you're saying, but it's based upon the light bouncing off a geometric position somewhere else that we don't see, a second horizon.
What do you mean we?
What do I mean? What?
How do you measure something you don't see?
I'm getting there.
How does that
Paul.
happen?
I'm getting there. I just need him to concede his own position, which he seems to be hesitant to confirm. 2 horizons, one geometric that we don't see, and that's got light bouncing off it, refracting to our eyes, giving us a second horizon that we do see, the apparent visible horizon. Now, I'm confirming what he's told us. He's repeated what he's told us, but hasn't said, yeah, that would give us 2 horizons. Maybe he sees where I'm going and doesn't want to concede the fact he's describing a circumstance that has two horizons, plural. We've only got one, and the one we see, according to him, he's described it so far a couple of times. Now he's interrupting me, of course. The one he's described isn't geometric. He's made that perfectly plain. So we've only got one that we see, and that one isn't geometric. So far, so good. He's hesitant to confirm a geometric horizon that we don't see. That would be a second horizon, the one in his model. So far, all he's done is confirm that we don't have a geometric horizon. Well done. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Wrong. We do have a geometric horizon because the light has to reflect off something.
Ah, so we've got 2. One that the light's reflected off, that would be a geometric one. And one that we see, that would be a second visible one. That's 2, mate. Didn't you just listen to what I just explained? I'll try and explain it again. You will undoubtedly interrupt me. We only have one horizon. The horizon in your model based on an R value, claiming physical proof of the sphere you say is beneath our feet. That horizon is geometric, and it's not the one, singular, horizon we see. So we don't see the, singular, geometric horizon your model's based on. Do you understand?
Point of clarity.
If you see a mountain in the distance, does it mean it's not real?
I'm sorry, is this what? Sorry, I'll just reply.
The light is refracted, so it's not real.
Sorry, were you asking and answering this question? If I see a mountain, is that not refracted? My bad. What mountain debate? Sorry, did you lose your way? Did you not see the sign above the door with the word Earth in there? We're not debating about what mountains are doing. We're debating the nature of our reality. You think that's sphere-shaped based on... You don't need to talk, mate. Just pulling apart your straw man argument that you've just put up there. Do you mind? Yeah, it's not mountain debate.
I wasn't talking.
Yeah, I don't care. You are talking to tell me you're not talking, though, aren't you, dipshit? It's not what mountain debate. Earth is what we're talking about. Your Earth's got a geometric R value giving you a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon marked with an X, labelled horizon in your geometric model used to claim proof of a physical sphere-shaped geometry. Now, we don't have that. You're saying, oh, well, light's bouncing off something. What, a second horizon? We don't have 2 horizons. So I've pummeled your argument using the black swan. We don't have 2 horizons. Now, the one we see, refracted, isn't geometric, isn't the one in your model.
If you count for refraction, then...
Refraction means deviated from straight. In geometry, you've got tangent lines that are straight. So if it's refracted... I'm talking. If it's refracted, it's not geometric. Refracted means deviated from straight. Tangent, utilised in geometry to draw a line between you and a physical Earth curve edge, would be a straight line. If it's refracted, it's not geometric. We've only got one horizon. Yours is geometric.
Which is weird because we've been told by people on your own side that we've never seen the geometric horizon. We can never see the geometric horizon because we have an atmosphere. So how did you ever measure this geometric horizon? And how did you measure something
Because you
refracting
can
off
measure
something you've never seen?
refraction.
It's all right. The
You
guy
can
who's
measure
talking to us
refraction, and then
doesn't
you
like hearing the
calculate
ends
what
of
you see.
questions. He's
And then you
decided
can
he's got something to say, and
calculate.
he's clearly just waiting for his opportunity to talk through you at the end of your summary of your question, Chocolate. So obviously we didn't get to hear the concise summary of your question. This guy's already been smashed, but seems to think, like Kosho was, thinking that we're on bated breath for you, mate. No, we're not. We've pummeled your utter nonsense. We're not waiting for you to interrupt another panel member that understands we've only got one horizon, while you're telling us that we've got two. One's refracted off the other. No, mate, we've only got one. If we can't see it, it's not a horizon. Your model's still got one with an X labelled horizon and geometric, though. It's just not the horizon we see. We don't need to hear anything more from you about what mountain debate. Sod off to the debate about the mountains, mate. You're in the wrong place. Shut up. Go ahead,
You
Chocolate.
see it, but it's a refracted.
Doesn't this dipshit understand when I'm basically telling him to sit down and shut up? Chocolate asked something, you interrupted. I'm telling you off for doing so because we're not desperate to hear any more from you, because you've demonstrated your stupidity with a declaration of two horizons. One we don't see isn't a horizon then. A horizon's a visible demarcation point. So your stupid declaration that we don't see something that's apparently a horizon, only in existence in your model, is your demonstration of stupidity. From here on, we don't care what you've got to say. I want to hear Chocolate, on the other hand, summarise the point with his question. I don't want to hear you interrupting him. Is that clear? Don't need a reply, it's rhetorical. Shut up. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate how, from your own side, we've heard that we have never seen the geometric horizon. It is not possible to see the geometric horizon due to us having an atmosphere. So my question is, how could you measure something that you've never seen, and how could you measure something refracting off something that you've never seen? How is that possible? Over.
If no one's
All
going
right,
to answer,
so
can I?
you can count for refraction, and then you calculate based on how refraction works, and then you can see the refraction you're seeing, and you calculate back to what it's supposed to be. Then you can measure. That's
but
why
how
it's
do you know what
important
it's
to
supposed
always
to
use
be if you've
data
never seen it?
with your pictures. You can't just say, "Here's a picture."
Sounding like a requirement to presume a ball.
Yeah, it is.
How do you know what it's supposed to be if you've never actually seen it? How did
Because
you
you can
measure it to get
calculate
to establish the where it's supposed to be?
You can calculate for refraction, and then you get. That's why you need the data with the pictures. You can't just have a picture and say this proves it, because you don't have the data for the refraction.
Oh, really? It's interesting you should say that, because we've spent 3 years in debate with people presenting pictures and telling us that the refraction values arbitrarily assigned in their mathematics, utilising an R value and a geometric horizon, will tell them without any measurement of refraction whatsoever just how much that physical Earth curve edge, also known as the geometric horizon we're told we don't see, blocks things in the distance. They'll also fudge the figures with refraction. You're saying we'd need refraction values measured? Wow, that's an interesting point of view.
We do see the geometric horizon, but it's refracted, so the vision...
Sorry, geometric means you've got a tangent line to it, you dipshit. That's a contradiction in terms. Another idiot assertion that I've got to tell him off about. If you can see a geometric horizon but it's refracted, that means you don't have a straight line to it. Deviated from straight, that's refracted. Tangent means straight. So that's a contradiction in terms.
No, it isn't, because you can calculate the
You can calculate the what, where the geometric horizon will be with a refracted line. Geometric means you've got a straight line to a physical geometric sphere edge. That's what geometry is. Refracted lines aren't straight. So no, you cannot. It's a contradiction in terms.
No, it's not, because it's a distorted image of the geometric horizon.
What geometric horizon? We can't see it.
Yeah, everything
Then
you're
what
saying
is
is a
light
contradiction, bro. The horizon is described as something you would see, right? The apparent position where the sky meets the ground. Apparent meaning you would see it. So if you can't see it, it's not an horizon. It's not a horizon. Do you get that? Geometric or not, whatever you want to call it, you can't call it a horizon if you can't see it. I don't understand how you don't understand that.
Light is reflected,
No.
refracted, and we
So
see
not
the light,
straight.
and it's
He does. This guy's going round in circles, mate. Do you know what a tangent line
Yeah.
is? If you're doing geometry, you're drawing a tangent line to a physical sphere edge horizon. That's what geometry is. Drawing a straight line. That's called a tangent. The point that you meet with that straight line is the tangent point. Now that's a straight line to a physical Earth curve edge, formerly known as Earth curve or the geometric horizon. Now that's a straight line. Do you understand that a tangent is straight?
Yes, if it was
So
in a vacuum.
stop. Good. So you understand that to do geometry, you're going to draw a straight line to a tangent point. So not...
Due to refraction,
excuse me,
it's not
mate.
straight.
Mate! Why is it that these zealot assholes think that while I'm handing them their ass, they need to talk through me? Is it your only defence? It's prolonged silences when we ask you a pertinent question. But getting the question out means you've got to talk through me, does it, dipshit? No.
They
Not
always
at all.
just go out on a tangent.
So you appreciate that a tangent's a straight line. That's what you require to do geometry. Now, do you also appreciate that refracted light has, by definition, deviated from straight, not straight?
That's why you need to calculate for refraction.
Calculate for you. What do you mean calculate for refraction?
That's why
You're trying
you
to
need
do... Guys on the panel, who is it that keeps interrupting me on the panel? Who is it? Of course, total silence, Fundy muting me while I'm talking to this guy who's also Fundy muting me. Panel, recognise that I'm trying to have a discourse with a guy who's simultaneously trying to interrupt the cogent points I'm making. Thanks. You don't have a straight line if it's refracted. It's a contradiction in terms.
That's why you need to calculate for refraction. What don't you understand?
That you can't do geometry with a straight line if you've got refracted lines. It's a contradiction in terms. I've said it about 4 times, and you keep repeating the same claim as the rebuttal.
No, because you need to calculate for refraction to make the line
Yeah, that's the same
straight.
thing he's
What
repeated
don't
4
you
times.
understand
I don't
about
know.
it?
I've just got to shut him up. He's a dick. Total dick. Repeating the same thing 5 times is not going to act as a defence to this. Straight lines aren't refracted.
If that's the end of that one, can I ask a quick question, Nath?
Yeah.
I want to do like a top 10 flat earth proofs video. So what would be the top 10? Well, what do you guys reckon?
I don't know about top 10, but
Just-
top 3.
just for-
I can give you the top 3. So in reverse order,
Okay.
you've got Coriolis effect at number 3. Gas pressure without a container at number... You
Those
tell me.
ones I already know,
You
though.
tell me. Go on.
Should stop.
Oh,
that.
no, I mean-
There's absolutely no. In at number 3.
That's
you got
what
the
I'm
top of the
doing,
pops
yeah.
one. Okay. Top of the pops.
Yeah,
I love
no,
it.
I just because I've got like up to 6, so I was just wondering what you guys could help me out with. Yeah.
Go on then. Give us your 6.
No. It's mainly just the questions that we ask every time, like when we start the show. It's basically just that, and then I was just trying to find some more. So I wanted to bring it up to 10. I could always just make it easy and just do a top 5, but I wanted to do a top 10.
What do you really need more for, though, right? The claim is we live on a spinning ball in a vacuum. Well, get rid of the ball, get rid of the spinning, dead the vacuum. What else do you have after that?
Yeah,
Right?
I'm just wanting to make a top 10 of like the things that we follow. So then, like, you know, if people see it, they go, oh, actually, and then it raises their eyebrows and opens their eyes.
I mean, we've got 8 housekeeping questions, but in terms of top 3 globe killers, it is, like Chocolate just explained, if you've got a spinning ball flying through a vacuum and you debunk spinning, Coriolis effect, you debunk it being in a vacuum, gas pressure without a container, and you debunk it being a ball, black swan, you've got nothing left.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, after that, it's just smoke if you got him. Just hang out, talk about stuff.
Yeah,
What are
but
you
we
doing out there? What are
realize
you?
that.
You
Like,
don't even have a
I'm not-
model now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, but I'm not making it for us. I'm making it for the normies. So
You could put in the flights between New York and Los Angeles if you wanted, because the
that's
flight
part
from
of
New
the
York to
argument.
Los Angeles.
No, that's part of the argument.
The
That's
flight
part
from
of
New York to Los
Coriolis.
Angeles.
That's part of the argument. That's part of top 3. That's Coriolis. If the Earth
Yeah.
was spinning,
oh yeah,
we'd see a
I mean,
Coriolis.
I fly drones, so I can do
Oh, this is so
Coriolis like
painful.
myself. Anyway,
God,
it's easy.
it's not going to be a concise rendition of any of these arguments whilst talking to you, is it? Jesus, wet.
What did I do?
I just
Oh,
want to
did I
get one
overtalk
of them out without somebody talking through me. So, yeah, one of the arguments is about the flight between Charlotte, North Carolina and LA. So if the Earth was spinning underneath, as claimed by a gyro or pendulum, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would take 1.5 hours because Earth's turning underneath. Earth isn't turning underneath that flight. It takes 4 hours both directions. But that's what they claim with their 15-degree turn an hour. What don't they add to that statement? 15-degree turn of the Earth underneath a spinning gyroscope. Well, if it's 15 degrees of Earth turning underneath the gyro and a football, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, then it's also going to turn underneath aeroplanes. It's going to turn underneath drones. It's going to turn underneath anything that leaves the reference frame, including that flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, reducing the flight time massively.
Well, you could apply that here in Australia, flying from Perth to, say, I don't know, Melbourne or Sydney. Like the flight from Perth to the eastern states is quicker than going from the eastern states to Perth. But most people will equate that to Coriolis, but it's not. It's because we have the roaring 40s that come down from the southern tip of Africa and then it's come across the Indian Ocean and across to Australia and go in that direction. So that's nothing
why,
to do with Coriolis. Yeah,
that's why I said New York to Los Angeles and Los Angeles to New York, because the flights from Los Angeles to New York, the flights from Los Angeles to New York is actually shorter than New York to Los Angeles, and it should be the other way around.
So less affected by winds and stuff like that. So,
no, New York to Los Angeles should be shorter if we were on a spinning globe, because New York is east and Los Angeles is west, so west is coming to east. But Los Angeles to New York is a shorter flight. So that's why I was saying you could throw that in there. That is a black swan of flights, if you want to talk about out rotation. Then.
I mean, that might be true.
Can we add to the black swan?
Go
on. When you think of the black swan, you think of the horizon at a visible distance, right?
Yeah.
So, do we ever see in a curve? And if so, if there's a curve, what distance do you visibly see?
Well, that's what it is. 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That is the black swan argument. It's based on.
Are they saying your vision is curving, like your vision itself, or they say what are they saying it curves from? Refraction.
They're saying Earth curve, the physical geometric sphere edge horizon, Earth curve is at 1.2
at a visible.
Jesus H. Christ. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, my bad, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive thanks to both today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream as the after show begins now. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Holy shit! Did I just hear all people off for interrupting?
I wake up in the Twilight Zone. You get asked a question, you start answering it, 3 or 4 sentences into the answer, of course somebody starts asking the question again. So a bit like that. Bit like what's happening now.
Well, it left off at a good spot.
You don't know when to shut up, mate. Don't talk through me.
It
Can they
ended at
even
a
hear
good
you properly over there?
Yeah, it's because this dipshit keeps talking through me. He's asked me a question, I start answering him, and he starts talking in the middle of my sentence. Really, really irritating when I'm answering his specific question. He's put to me directly.
I have noticed though, if I open it here in Hangouts and then I go into Discord, there is a slight delay. I don't know if that is part of it.
Slight delay. What, when I'm 3 sentences into an explanation? No, that's got sod all to do with delay.
No, that's another story. Yeah, that's blatant over talking. Yeah.
It wasn't delay. It led into closing, and you closed it at a question that was related to the Black Swan. I thought it was a good conversation. I thought that was.
Is it just me or is everyone cutting out?
I don't know.
I think that it was going to an after show where we would talk about the Black. Listen.
Dude,
No, there's a lack
you're
of-
cutting out really badly.
Yeah.
So maybe leave the
I'm
Discord
also
and
the
try
US,
to
so
come
you
back
guys
in.
are.
Thanks, Rob.
Sorry.
He might be doing
Actually-
push to talk.
I actually think there might be something wrong
Also,
with it
I am
tonight
doing-
because I got booted off of this. I don't know if you saw me. I came on and off 5 times because it kept booting me. So,
Weird.
I don't know if there's something wrong with the
Your shit
Google
was
stream
annoying,
or
dude.
something.
Last I listened to you, you were like 20 seconds behind every question. But that's probably the lag. Right?
Me.
Yeah, you. Awesome.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying on last night's show. Like, our internet here is just terrible. Our bandwidth is just so bad, and I've even lowered down
Understand.
everything to like
shit.
the lowest levels I can on here. That's why I apologized yesterday when I do it. I not meaning to overtalk. What I might do is just mute, and then I'll just type on the side when I can.
I'm just stroppy. Been doing this for years, so, just get tired of it.
It's all good. That's kind of why I left. Like, I needed a bit of a break, so I had it, and now I'm back. But you're here all the time, so I can understand. You get it. I would be impatient as well.
Well, you say I'm here all the
Not
time.
that I'm saying you're impatient. Sorry.
I do bugger off once the after show's done. I do have a tendency to immediately sod off because you can get an overload and you do burn out if you stay in the show indefinitely. And if you're not producing anything, I'm sure it's a lot easier to just chit chat in the Discord server. But me, I've got a focus and an aim and a task to fulfill, and that's what I'm doing.
Nathan, can I bring up a point that might address why that guy couldn't get it and kept saying refraction?
Sure, I know why, but go on.
All right. So they have to have a globe because they say it's a ball. They have to have a radius. So they give us a model. The model is 3959. So when we put it to the math, the geometry, then at a 1 foot observer height, as you said, with the modus tollens for the Black Swan, it's got to be 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height. Well, it's not there, which means the model is wrong because clearly the horizon is beyond the second platform, which would make the radius over 264,000 miles, a bit off of the 3959. So that at this point,
Temp?
yes, I do. That's very lovely.
I turned it into a formula to stop all this confusion.
I love it. Go ahead, Adam. Take over.
So based on what we'd done, I went through the maths because we just worked it out based on the Black Swan, didn't we? And I'm happy for someone to check the maths because I've not checked it, but I've reformulated it because obviously to stop all the confusion. But I'll read it out. Tired of not knowing what size ball we are on today? Simply observe your distance to the horizon, D, input your observer height, H, and as if by magic, instant peace of mind. Plus, you get an added bonus to get a calculated value to base further assumptions on. If you want to know how big the radius is today, it's 2640 times the distance squared divided by your observer height, and that will confirm your daily size of the Earth.
comical.
Okay.
You've got to have a little bit of leeway in terms of it's unreasonable to assert that the geometric horizon, with their assumptions of an R value, notwithstanding those assumptions, their horizon can get closer without violating the geometric model.
Well, there's only one point ever where it doesn't violate it, isn't it? And that's the point where the geometric matches the apparent, which are those very few and far
not really.
between.
Beyond a certain point, it can't be geometric. Hence, we're told it's refracted now, right? That's why it's a black swan. They're making our argument for us. But it's perfectly reasonable if we were on a sphere to have a geometric physical sphere edge horizon and have it closer than the geometric constraints dictate. Most horizons that you'd see would be atmospheric or whatever prior to you reaching the geometric limit. But there'd be a point where it would only be that limit of the geometric physicality. It couldn't go beyond it, otherwise it stops being geometric. Exactly the situation we're in. But I just don't... I'm pulling apart something that you've done for comedic effect, but you know I'm right, don't you?
Yes. Oh, this is wholly unreasonable, Nathan. I mean, it's just to help the ballers through what is an increasingly stressful time. There's, the ball's falling apart and this corona bonus. So,
Adam, I want out of the good of your heart.
Yeah,
that's why you're a swell fella.
Can I say something about refraction whenever you guys get done?
Can I respond to this? Because it's just hilarious, the idea that the radius would be variable. It reminds me a bit of a pre-flat Earth conspiracy thing that I saw on YouTube very early on. It's like 10 years ago now, about blowing up Earth, about how the Earth ball is gradually expanding. I don't know if any of you have come across that, but it just kind of reminds me about this. Getting big.
Yeah. In accordance to the mainstream, the equator is going upward. Or sorry, no, the Tropic of Capricorn is going upward by 15 meters a year. That's official.
Okay.
How do they get the equator? Like, what makes them think that there's a center of this that they call the equator? Does anybody actually know where they?
Yeah, we went through it on the show. So you start with Aristarchus watching lights in the sky, have a presumed shadow cross it, and he says that's caused by Earth being a physical obstruction between the light and the shadow that's being caused on the light in the sky. So he's giving you the description of an eclipse with balls blocking balls, right? Well, that assumption moves on to an actual measurement of the R value from Al-Biruni. So you first have the assumption we're on a sphere, then you have them actually calculating the R value. Then you have them confirming it with the presupposition. You have them then confirming it with the presupposition with the story they actually give us, which is Aristophanes and your sticks and shadows. But that starts with the presupposition of a sphere-shaped Earth as well, and it's not the origin of the actual R value measurement. That's Al-Biruni. So I don't know, I haven't puzzled over why they give us the sticks and shadows story as the mainstream rhetoric, and even declare in the story that the assumption of a sphere is part of that measurement. But there we go, they give us that story, and that's what was picked apart for 2 or 3 years. Now we're focusing on the fact that the actual origin story is Al-Biruni after the sphere assumption by Aristarchus.
Okay.
So they've drawn this out. They had to have drawn this out. That's how they got what they think is the center of the equator, right? That's how they figured it out.
Yeah, I would give you the
That's
equator.
a part.
Yeah.
That's a reification of them just drawing something. But I'm asking how they know it. Is it 12 o'clock all the time at a certain time at those locations?
Well, it's the central point, isn't it? It's the point that there is no equator. You're just taking a celestial
I know
movement.
they say it changes during the seasons, which is what it's apparent, right?
Yeah,
it's not much different.
There is no actual equator. It's just an arbitrary designation based on the movement
Exactly.
of the sun.
That's what their radius is, though. If they use that, they're like, if they say there's a radius, and then they use the mathematics of what the equator is based. It's like.
But it's not an actual line that they can follow around with a tape measure and measure it, is it? It's an arbitrary thing that's assigned based on the position of the sun.
It's apparently
at the summer solstice, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right. But there should be some consistency to the extract of it.
Well, but this is why the whole model falls apart. It's a very interesting point that you've raised, because you're correct. The entirety of the model is focused around this presupposition of an R value. And if it's in any way altered, it puts off all of the other things that tie in with it in terms of the celestial movements that are tied to the sphere assumption. So, in other words, if you destroy the R value, everything else about the model falls apart. The whole model implodes upon the demolition of the R value. It's why the black swan argument is as glorious as it is, because it destroys R.
That's all I meant to say. I didn't mean to cut you off. But what I'm saying is that if anybody knows is when they think of a flat Earth model, they say, well, how do eclipses work? How do seasons change? You only have those seasons changed in eclipses based on the radius that they're saying the moon and the sun follow. We don't have a proof of that other than a drawing that says it goes in this motion. So it's reification, thing apparently designed as a circle.
Yeah, spot on.
So, I mean, I don't know why anybody's not calling, when they say equator, what are you drawing the equator on? Is it a map? Is it a map of what you're it's like the same logic.
The minute they say equator, they have to agree with the black swan, with the radius, and where it has to be at 1.22 miles from a 1 foot observer height. The minute they say we have an equator, they're dead.
Yeah, and I've listened just on this show, and that's why I'm super wanting to be into Black Swan right now, because if you say the best thing they did was debunk the radius, right? That's not just funny, but that's mathematically, where's your equator? The numbers that you're giving us are what? They're not right, or what?
No, the best thing, listen, they need the Earth to be what it is. And what it is has been written
mathematically
down in
proportionate.
Books. Let me finish. Now, forget the mathematically proportionate. What have they written down in all school books? 3959, right? It has to match what they've told us all these years. Well, Black Swan says it doesn't. It's really 264,000 miles at 10 miles out if the horizon on that day is seen 10 miles out. As Nathan says, it could be no more. Please. As Nathan says, oh gosh. Can you just stop until I say over? Thank you. So as Nathan says, the Black Swan argument, modus tollens, is that the horizon could be no more than 1.22 miles out at a 1 foot observer height. That's based on their ball at 3959. It could be closer. It might be a foggy day, so you can't see as far as 1.22 miles, but it could never be further than that. You see? So when they give us an equator, they're just saying the Earth radius is 3959. We say, great. Well, your model's wrong, because look at this Black Swan picture. It should be 264,000 mile radius on this day. Does the Earth change daily? Ball game over.
That's my point. I know. That's what I'm saying. If you were to even use the radius, you're given a circle. You're automatically given a circle, so that's how you have to think of the map. Naturally, you're going to think of a map if you're thinking of the Earth itself. So I'm saying, the idea of an equator is entirely mathematical. They can throw literally any number on it, and we'll all just have to go with it and put it in whatever equation but it doesn't. It's literally something they're telling you about. They're convincing you that this is a thing. And I'm asking.
Right. But they've given us a number for what they say the Earth is, and that number can't change. So that means they lied. It's a model. They looked up in the sky, saw other things that look spherical, and say, well, we must be spherical, so let's give us a radius. Well, it doesn't work. So back to the drawing board.
They'll have to pick a shape. Right. It has to go. A triangle Earth.
Triangle Earth.
If it doesn't match the mathematics of a circle, it's not.
What Brian was saying before about that flight in America, I've just been looking it up while you guys have been chatting, and So like flying from Perth to Melbourne, so from one side of Australia to the other, if you're flying from Perth to Melbourne, it's 3.5 hours a flight. If you fly from Melbourne to Perth, that's 4 hours and 15 minutes. So it's 45 minutes longer, which is strange because if we were on a globe and we had Coriolis, the flight back from Melbourne to Perth should theoretically be quicker. So if you take into account things like wind and stuff like that, there's a great website called earth.nullschool.net. I'm on there right now. And the wind going across, there's a thing called the Nullarbor in Australia, in the middle of Australia. We go across that in a straight line. All the wind speeds are pretty much consistently the same. And in the middle, they kind of go up, so they're not really going to affect your movement from side to side. So it doesn't really add up. So if the Earth is spinning and Melbourne is obviously ahead of us by 2 hours, so it's spinning around, going from Melbourne to Perth, theoretically should be quicker, but it's not. It's 45 minutes longer. I shall investigate.
Just for that man there, 1 second. Just for that man there. The equator size we're given is based on the pre-assumption that we have curvature and drop. Without curvature and drop, then the equator size will be a lot bigger.
Can I talk about fraction, regress a little bit? I've been trying to jump in. Back to the guy that was saying that we never, the horizon is refracted. To know, tell me if I'm wrong, to know how much something is refracted, you've got to know you got to have a baseline. So you got to see it and know it. And then once you start trying to calculate refraction, then you can see how much is refracted. So if you don't never really see the geometric horizon, how do you know your calculations for refraction are correct? Because if you're presupposing a globe, then you're reifying the globe. But if you never see it, you don't even know if your calculations are correct. Do you understand what I'm driving at? Am I right in that?
Yeah, if you can't ever...
I asked him that same question.
It debunks Al-Biruni's measurement, because Al-Biruni's presupposing a tangent line capable of being drawn between him at the top of the mountain and the physical geometric sphere edge, also known as Earth curve, also known as the geometric horizon. And if you can never see it, how the hell can you ever measure it? You can't, therefore he didn't. Correct, Paul.
And also, how do you know your measurements for refraction are correct? So there's the other factor. So if you're trying to factor in refraction, you would have to know those differences beforehand, correct?
Well, their refraction is based on, guess what? The physical geometric sphere edge horizon based on an R value, because their refraction is terrestrial refraction. 7/6 R standard format. Massageable in any way they like, but dependent on a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, or the equator, both based on the same thing, the R value. Draw it from the central point of that circle in side view with a slice of the Earth, visible in mathematical terms, Muppet vision as we fondly term it, and you've got R giving you your physical geometric sphere edge horizon and your equator. They're both based on the same thing.
Just sorry to butt in. Are you guys having issues like if you try and share your screen, you get kicked off of Hangouts?
I think it's you.
Because every time I try.
No, but it's you.
I don't know what's going on.
It's you because you've got narrow bandwidth, so that's why it's kicking you.
Your internet sucks.
Your internet sucks, yeah. So does the other guy.
Yeah, our government spent billions on an NBN scheme that's just utterly useless.
Well, isn't that nice?
Like they always do.
Prepare.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to do here is so what I was talking about before. I've got flightaware.com/live up on my computer, and I'm just like I've got a flight and its flight path. Like I've clicked on a plane that's left Perth and flown to Melbourne, and then I've found a plane going the opposite direction, and they pretty much follow the same kind of path. One's obviously a little bit different to the other. But there's not really any difference where I can see where this extra 45 minutes is adding up. The other interesting thing I see is like when you click on a flight, it has a green where it looks like the GPS is picking up the plane, but then the rest of the actual track data is white. So it's almost like it's just the software's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm estimating it's going here, and then when it gets close to land, it goes green again and then changes its course where it actually is. All the more reason to go along with the GPS-based ground system. Like when it's over the ocean, it has obviously no GPS, land-based to connect to. But I've got a flight here from UAE that's flown to Perth, and it's got GPS data, which is all squiggly and showing where it's flying. But then when it goes off into the Indian Ocean, it's just a straight line, with a apparent course, but there's no connection. Then just at the bottom tip of India, it flies past there, and it must click back onto the ground-based GPS system, and it switches on again, and it's green, and it changes course again, and then it cuts off again until it just hits the coast of Perth, and then it comes back on again. It's quite interesting. And this whole GPS thing is definitely ground-based.
Do we have to use GPS as any sort of gauge of the Earth itself? Because I it
debunks satellites.
Like we know. Okay, for instance, this is why I like the Coriolis thing that everybody's, specifically you guys have been talking about, is that we have winds that blow in multiple different directions. So what the flight times are doesn't really matter. It's not a flat Earth argument, because you have birds that fly south every winter because of the directions of the winds. This is all proven, or at least what we should believe. But we know hurricanes and all this other stuff. Winds don't have anything to do with the Coriolis, especially if we're talking about why the winds.
I never
work.
said they did, though.
No, he's just making a point. It's not necessarily directed at you.
No, planes go up into these things. It's not something that they go up into them for. I don't know how GPS calculates their flight times. For instance, it could be. I know you can't go up certain altitudes without permits and clearances. So I don't know that they're not going into these wind patterns. So I don't know if we can make anything of GPS.
Well, the GPS system is, depending on how you want to argue it, if the satellites are claimed to be in space, debunk space, can't have gas pressure without a container, it's also utilising a begging the question fallacy of orbital motion. As soon as you say orbits, you're begging the question... as soon as you mention orbits, you're begging the question that these satellites are falling around a sphere-shaped Earth, obviously utilising the R value and their distance from that centre point, or the distance from their claimed edge at 3959. The point being, it's falling around a sphere as soon as you say the word orbits. It's a begging the question fallacy. So their suggestion is that each of these ground marking points that are the same height from one another, well, that would indicate a flat plane. Well, no, they're actually presupposed to be around a spherical surface that a satellite's falling around, and you're always an equal distance from the ground when you fall around a sphere. So it's just a begging the question fallacy as soon as they say orbit.
You reified 10 different things even saying that. GPS, airflow, there's so many different things you could never really know just in understanding and agreeing with GPS. Oh, the orbit, oh, the satellites, oh, the speeds, oh, the wind. It's ridiculous to even go as far as we don't know what it is.
No,
we don't know if there's other speeds that they calculate into these
GPS is
equations.
100% triangulation of ground-based network towers that your cell phone runs on. It's triangulation.
But you couldn't test that. You couldn't if you had you can't go into altitudes at a certain height. My father was a pilot. You can't go into these locations.
I've been in a plane flying from Perth to Bali, and I've got phone reception, and it's not on board the plane phone reception. I've picked up phone reception.
Could be.
And
who knows?
I'm pretty sure planes would have a pretty decent receiver to be able to get a connection to ground-based systems.
You're just guessing that, dude. But
you guys know what
to
the
depend
LoRaN
on it
system
and to
is?
use that as
I didn't hear a word you said, man. You cut out so many times.
I might have spoke over top of you. I had a question. Do you guys know what the LoRaN system is?
Yeah, it's the original ground-based system that was then modified and turned into our I think it was GPRS system that we now have that's again going to be phased out in the light of 5G. But one of those old transmission systems was basically an adaptation of the Lorenz system, ground-based communications, basically.
Yeah, I just posted a
Yeah,
link from Wikipedia about it, and they're even, if you read go down in that article on Wikipedia, they're actually going to take the Lorenz system and use it as data transmission system, which sounds just like cell towers. So
5G.
I'm
5G.
I'm on board with mine work.
yeah. I've thought it for a while, and it's just more and more. There's just more and more proof, especially now with everyone working at home and the bandwidth just being so utterly crap that it's affecting, the ability to use my phone as a, I use maps all the time, like Google Maps to go to jobs and stuff like that. And the last week I just haven't been able to use it. I've been having to go to my the old book. Man, that's old school. I haven't used it for a long time, but yeah,
They've throttled it.
just the congestion seems to be. Sorry.
They're making way for the 5G, and that's why everyone's all home using their internet, and nothing's going fast. It's all throttled, so they're making 5G.
Well, I ran into I listened to independent political news, and these people are still very blue pill in the sense of they don't really think critically about the information given. So I'm listening to him give me information about how they're finally doing what he's wanted them to do all along, which is make internet available through the cities, or like I forget the language and how it goes, but it's like something about municipalities or something. And he's saying these 5G towers are going to help make it a city thing rather than how it's working right now. So the point is, I'll link the article if anybody's interested, or I'll link the video where he talks about it. Like, I don't understand all this 5G stuff. I just know that what he's talking about explains a lot of the things I'm hearing from people that are saying, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that. And he's just, oh, hey, great, look what they're setting up in my city. That kind of thing.
I don't see what the argument is against that 5G doesn't have effects. Like it absolutely, like scientifically has effects. It's just a noise. You're hearing a noise that is you can't hear it because it's not in the range, but it's definitely going on. It's like it's around you, and it's constantly adding to some sort of paranoia, some sort of effect that actually do it.
I was sort of talking about an actual structure, like structures of things being built that we can like tangible things that we can know for sure rather than speculate where these things are being built. Like I'm speaking
Dude,
to a structure that we can.
Every single Walmart has like a huge 5G tower. I've taken pictures of it. It's insane looking because it looks so monolithic and creepy. But I challenge, go to any Walmarts are great ones. I don't know if you live in the States or if they have one near you, but they always have a huge tower, and it looks psychotic just looking at it. It's mono.
Well, our local shopping center, right? They have a rooftop car park, and they've had it shut down for about 3 months, and they just opened it up. And me and my wife went there yesterday, and I was just like, I was shocked. On the roof car park, there are literally probably about 15 5G towers put up, and they're all just facing because the shop is actually built on a hill, so it looks down on everything. So it's a perfect spot to put all these 5G towers. But there's so many of them facing every single direction on the top roof car park.
That's all you have to do is listen to what they say.
Sorry?
Like when I used to work for DirecTV, and they had all this like fake satellite fleet and all these things, but it was really the towers that based on like their signal. Like if a tower was raining in your area, the signal go out and it'd say it's a satellite, the rain clouds. Like that was a literal thing that I had to tell people. But the reality of it is that they're like AT&T, which owns DirecTV, is moving up to a higher frequency, which after radio is microwave, according to what they're saying it is. And it's such a loud, like it does have an effect. The more they're putting into it, what would you expect? It has an effect. There you go.
Another thing that the guy was boasting, he was saying that the effect of it is that it'll take the power of internet or broadband away from these big major cable companies and give the power to the cities. I think that was the argument. And he was saying at worst, where these towers aren't set up all the way, at worst, their speeds are as good as the networks, the cable networks. But completely set up, they're far beyond. He said you can buffer a Netflix video in like 2 seconds. Now, this is something that they're boasting about, you know, but it's like telling you exactly what is happening. Now, I don't know if that's dangerous, if that's good, or if it isn't. I just know that these are claims being made.
Do you know what a GIS is? A GIS stands for Geographical Information System. And what Google Maps wouldn't even be a GIS because it doesn't have enough information. Google Maps would only be like a part of a GIS. A GIS would be a huge amount of data that's all layered together. So GIS and GPS works together because they layer together a huge amount of data, and then they find the location of a person, an object, or place within that data through triangulation of radio signals. But a GIS would be like 5G will really will really make GIS information like they'll quadruple it because they'll be able to tell so much stuff in such a short space of time. They have like people like the CIA and large corporations and all that, like they'd all use GIS, what's known as a GIS, because that gives them data that you can't get on Google Maps. Google Maps can only tell you so much, you know. So if you look into what a GIS is, that explains a lot.
Okie dokie.
Sorry about that. I had to go and come back. The connection was terrible.
So, back to satellites. If an argument comes up about satellites, the best thing for the globe side of this argument is to continually argue about whether or not we've got ground-based or sky-based satellites giving us our networks. Because ultimately you're going to be arguing indefinitely about whether or not the satellites are giving you the signal in space or ground-based communication towers. Well, much better to establish firmly with your opponent where they think these satellites are located and then debunk the medium that the satellite's in. Because at that point, well, you don't have to justify how you have your data coming to your phone. You know, if you want to argue about that and make that as your claim, well, fine. You know, back it with really good evidence, and you know, people will listen. But why is there a necessity? If they claim the satellite's in space, make them prove space is real. You can't have gas pressure without a container. I cut it off at the legs very quickly so that they can't have their medium with these little things in their presupposing orbital paths. So yeah, just to add that on to the end. Always good to debunk space.
And the thing is as well, like, even if we were on a globe model, right, a triangulation from a ground-based set of towers would be much more effective. Wouldn't you agree? Like, than in inverted commas satellites. You know, like when you're driving along in your car and you're having a phone call, right? You're not just on one tower. It keeps flicking from one tower to the next as you go along, but you don't lose that call, do you? You stay connected. So
it wouldn't prove or
that's
disprove
exactly
anything.
the same as what's
That's
happening
what
with
I don't like about the whole
GPS.
argument, because you can definitely believe planes are flying around. Why don't you think they could have a Wi-Fi connect? I don't know, and I don't need to know how they say. Like, that doesn't make it anything than what they say, because you could absolutely fly drones and any other Wi-Fi kind of receivers, just like you do connect to towers, or it doesn't say anything about a globe.
What's your point there?
I think if I'm hearing him correctly, what he's saying is you guys don't have a geometric horizon, aka curve. Well, that means you don't have a radius. That means all this other nonsense that you're talking about, like satellites that are supposed to be in a medium that can't exist. Now, all of that's just talk. They're not saying.
He's talking about Wi-Fi. What was his question about Wi-Fi?
No, what
That
I'm
didn't
saying
make
is
sense.
that here's my main point is, and I don't know if it was convoluted or whatever, but my main point is that it doesn't matter what they tell you. It's up to you whether or not you believe it. Obviously, do you see towers? Obviously, do you see a flat, like, non-motionless? You see all these things, but you would only believe what they're telling you unless you're convinced. And I'm saying they're the ones trying to. Why? So you buy into it. So you fund whatever they're trying to do. So if you go along with it, it will be exactly. But that doesn't make it any less visibly and observably flat. It doesn't make any. It's just how much you want to believe.
That was a good try, Chocolate.
I thought I was on the way there, but yeah.
Hey, Huey.
What's up, John?
Try again.
Hey, John.
What's up? Try again, Chocolate.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I'm hearing him say, right? Like, I mean, you guys don't curve, you don't have a geometric horizon, you don't have the ball that you need. So then everything else after that's just like telling stories around a campfire. You're gonna talk about satellites in a medium that can't exist. All right, that's a story around a campfire because you haven't proven that that medium exists, and you haven't proven that the radius that you have on this ball that doesn't exist exists itself.
Well, that's why I try and emphasize this point that I'm bringing up for like the people that are kind of new to this subject. Like, if they just think about it, you just think about your GPS systems, you think about triangulation. That in itself should raise questions. You know, that we're not on a globe, like that your GPS system isn't running off satellites. You know, it's running on a ground-based system using triangulation, and it's just my point is just being proven even more with the amount of bandwidth lost because everyone's working at home, and is affecting my ability to use my GPS system, aka a Google Maps on my phone. It's just not working because I can't pick up a GPS signal.
So basically what you're saying is the ISS is in the big swimming pool, and that's why we see bubbles in space.
That's much more likely.
I suppose.
Yeah, so basically, this is what they've done. They got blue screens and green screens in something that's supposed to be in the second law of thermodynamics violation. And when they're caught, it proves that they're faking it. So now they're faking GPS with triangulation with ground-based towers. So tell me something new about the elites.
Before you do,
Well, I was bringing it up for us. I was bringing it up for the newbies.
My bad.
But, yeah.
Just one sec. Quantum Eraser, please can you plug Ballbusters on Saturday? I've done it a couple of times, but it'd be nice to have it done by you.
Nathan, I didn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Please
Hold up.
plug Ballbusters.
I just woke up, man.
Man, I just woke up and you want me to plug something? Man, what?
Ballbusters, this Saturday on the Quantum Eraser channel, we're going to cover the top 3 globe falsehoods. Be there or be sphere.
Or be sphere. Ah, great minds think alike.
It's the Trinity. Small T.
Excellent. with that, I'm going to say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream audience for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!